The day my father tried to sell my life's work behind my back, I almost walked away defeated. Almost. What he didn't know was that my grandmother had already given me the one weapon I needed to turn 6 years of betrayal into the ultimate revenge. They thought I was the family outcast, the quiet one in the lab, but I walked out owning everything. If you've ever been underestimated, or if someone's tried to take credit for what you poured your life into, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video because you're about to hear how justice doesn't just happen, it gets engineered. Let's dive in. The scent of polished mahogany always meant intimidation in my family. High ceilings, hushed carpets, generational portraits on walnut walls. It was all theater to project dominance. As I stepped into Morgan Industries headquarters 30 minutes early that morning, I already knew something was wrong. Dad's voice on our brief call the night before, calm words, but strained, had left me uneasy. Just a routine budget talk. Sure. That's how people describe breaking news about a house fire. I was early, yes, but not early enough. Because as I walked the plush corridor lined with floor-to-ceiling portraits of dead Morgans glaring down like some sepia-stained tribunal, I heard voices leaking from the boardroom door. The door was cracked, an invitation or a trap, I still don't know. Just sign here, William. Tech Core is ready to wire the funds as soon as we close. A clipped, unfamiliar voice. 3.5 million? That's robbery, considering what we've put into that division, my father's baritone replied. More than fair for unproven technology, came my sister Victoria's voice. My blood froze. Because the division they were arguing about wasn't just a budget line. It was my 6 years of work, 6 years of quantum research, endless nights in the lab, and endless ridicule at family dinners. They were selling me. My hands pushed that boardroom door wide before I could even think. Every head snapped up. Dad in his immaculate suit. Victoria in her signature lipstick red blazer, smug and sharp-edged as a blade. My brother James shrinking, trying to fold himself into invisibility. And some thin, spectacled man with contracts strewn before him. On one paper, I glimpsed the words Quantum Stability Division Asset Transfer Agreement before Victoria snatched it away with a flick of manicured fingers. Elizabeth, Dad said sharply, as though I'd wandered in wearing clown shoes. The meeting isn't for another half hour. And then it just burst out of me, my voice raw, almost shaking. They're selling my life's work without even telling me? Let me pause here, because anyone who's ever been underestimated will know this feeling. The words too expensive, too idealistic, nothing to show boiled inside me for 6 years. And here, in one smirking sentence, they reduced it all to a disposable $3.5 million line item. This wasn't just business. This was erasure. Dad steepled his fingers, calmer than I felt. Your little science project has drained enough resources. 6 years, millions spent, and what? Nothing investors can put their hands on. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, louder, firmer than I thought I could. We achieved quantum stability at room temperature for 17 minutes. Do you know what that means? Victoria laughed. A calculated, glass-cutting weapon of a laugh. Elizabeth's basement tinkering, she sneered to the stranger. Always breakthroughs coming someday. Nothing real. James avoided my eyes. Always James, the sibling who floated with the strongest current to avoid drowning. But then, through the rising haze of rage, I suddenly remembered Grandma. My grandmother, Eleanor Morgan, the only family member who ever looked at me not like a mistake, but like a torchbearer. Her voice came back as if whispered right then. They don't understand vision, Lizzie, but I do. That's why the trust will protect your work. Don't let them stop you. It wasn't just insults at Thanksgiving. I learned in the days that followed. Margaret, my grandmother's sharp-as-knives lawyer, and Thomas, my research partner, arrived in my cramped apartment with an avalanche of evidence. Dad blocking every funding request for years. Victoria stealing my algorithms by manipulating IT access. Emails. My father telling her, don't worry about Elizabeth's funding requests. The board never sees them. I make sure of it. Victoria parading at award ceremonies, posing with my slides, as though she'd built them in her sleep. Receiving quarterly bonuses bigger than my lab's entire annual budget. I felt sick. My hands shook as I read the words. But when Margaret handed me the patent documents, my patents, ironclad, shielded under Grandma's trust, the nausea shifted into something fiercer. Fire. When I marched back into the boardroom the next day with Margaret and Thomas, the air changed. Dad had his mask of confidence on. Victoria's smirk gleamed. But when Margaret laid down documents accusing them of fraud, theft, and misappropriation, and I calmly announced, the patents are registered to me. Eleanor Morgan's trust. Not you. Any sale is fraud. The silence hit like thunder. Even Dad, master manipulator, iron-fisted patriarch, flinched. Victoria, cornered, spat venom. Innovation doesn't count without my name on it. But it didn't matter. The board heard the truth. For once, my steadiness was stronger than their bluster. Dorothy Walker, Grandma's closest friend and a board member, stood and called for an emergency full board meeting. You could see it in Dad's jaw, the realization that for once, control was slipping. Of course, tyrants don't surrender. They smear. That same night, a press release painting me as unstable, erratic, unfit for leadership. They cut my keycard, suspended my team. Overnight, we were exiled. And yet, my team refused to scatter. Reynolds and the others showed up at my tiny apartment with boxes of rescued equipment, hidden flash drives, redundantly backed up research. They'd refused $500,000 offers to jump ship. Money couldn't buy what we had: loyalty, vision, trust. And among Grandma's old letters tucked away on my shelf, I found it, the secret clause. Article 16, a founding amendment to Morgan Industries' charter. A built-in kill switch. If Dad ever attempted to appropriate my intellectual property, the voting shares transferred to me. Emergency meeting. Entire board present. Dad tried to shut me down. Victoria's accusations grew shriller, describing me as unstable in front of investors. But then I revealed it all. Patents in my name, NSF designation, national security interest. Not $3.5 million. $4.2 billion starting bids. Gasps filled the room. My sister's face blanched. And then the grand weapon, Article 16. As of your attempted fraud yesterday, control shifted. I am majority shareholder. I can still see it. William Morgan, master strategist, faltering. Forced into his chair not by me, but by law and by legacy. Within weeks, Dad stripped to honorary emeritus. Title, powerless. Victoria fired, facing fraud investigations. James given a second chance, now choosing integrity. My team elevated to leadership roles. But the truth? The real victory wasn't boardroom politics. It was walking past those suffocating portraits of grim-faced Morgans, adding a new one beside them, my grandma's. The brass plate inscribed, "Never underestimate the quiet ones. They're usually building revolutions." In 6 months, Morgan Industries transformed. The dark fortress of cigar smoke and closed doors became glass walls and open labs. Cross-team collaboration replaced secrecy. Innovation flourished. Our quantum stability algorithm stabilized for 87 minutes. Patents stacked like armor on the boardroom table. Young scientists saw in me not a quirky daughter, but proof that vision, however underestimated, destroys cynicism. And for the first time in my life, I didn't crave my father's approval. His glare from the shadows of retirement was simply noise. I didn't take revenge by ruining them.
No.
The sweetest revenge was succeeding where they tried to stop me, taking their attempts to erase me, and using them to rewrite the future. Sometimes revenge isn't fire. It isn't screaming back or burning bridges. Sometimes the most devastating payback is patience, preparation, and quiet, relentless success. Undermine me all you want, but underestimate me? That was your fatal mistake. If you found that story as satisfying as I did living it, smash the like button. Subscribe for more stories where betrayal flips into justice. And in the comments below, tell me, what's the most satisfying act of payback you've ever seen? I read them all, and trust me, you'll want to see what comes next.